Did you want waffles?
A sip of this coffee yet.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Junie hasn't even taken a sip of his coffee yet. That's how devoted he is to making sure that the show starts on time. Welcome to Warlocks Waffles. Junie, you got your coffee?
Got my coffee.
Good.
I feel like it's been a while since I've been here.
It's been a bit, yeah.
It's been a bit. I've had some things, but I'm glad this feels good to be here with my brother Bear right here. Just hanging out, staring at my coffee.
Y'all, I've had On My Way from Brother Bear stuck in my head for like a week. A solid
I've had it for about a half hour since I hadn't heard the song, but now it is living rent free.
It's a great song. Everybody should go listen to it. Love it.
Mr. Phil Collins. Mr. Phil Collins is just up in there doing his thing.
Yep. Close friend of the show, Phil Collins.
Close personal friend of the show, yes.
I consider Mr. Phil Collins a personal friend of mine because I love his music. I am not his close personal friend. Welcome to Warlocks and Waffles, y'all.
A Phil Collins fan cast.
It's been a bit. It was not this past Friday, but the one before, I believe, was the last one where you and I were both on. So we had Rosie on Monday, and then we had to cancel the show on Friday. So it's been a little bit. But yeah, we are here again once more together. Welcome to the show.
How's it going?
How's life? How's stuff?
It's been a wild ride. Got a lot of personal things, family stuff happening, but today's a morning where I'm able to break away from everything and just. All right, the Genie's gonna explain the bit. You see, everybody, we do a pre-call show, right?
Take a step outside the bit with us.
I want you to peer behind. Hey, everybody, I'm about to explain a joke that no one needs to know, right? Me and Hunter, we get on the call beforehand to prep and just psychologically be ready for it. But a lot of nonsense happens. Sometimes it gets recorded, sometimes it doesn't. And let's just say that during today's pre-call, just the words "two bears in a hot tub," that phrase was uttered. And so I was going to say that, and then I thought about how, but if I'd have just said it, I would have just laughed uncontrollably for about a minute, right? So I'm spending that minute to explain that me and Hunter,
the joke.
We're talking about two bears in a hot tub, right? And for me, this is hilarious.
Because the song "On My Way" from Brother Bear has been stuck on my head for a week, and I was trying to explain it to Junie and realized that I was about to reference a song from a more obscure Disney movie.
Like the really obscure ones, like Spirit and Anastasia, and we were in a different headspace. But I haven't even taken the coffee yet, guys. But it's there. Redeem that hydrate.
Welcome to the show, y'all.
Welcome to the day. Welcome to the show where it's a day.
It is a day. A day.
We are technically awake.
A day, and in the morning of that day, and thus the show is happening. Welcome. Junie, on Friday, we had a topic before we had to cancel the episode. That topic was eating monsters. On that topic, after the show would have been later in the day on Friday, I got a delivery. Very exciting.
I'm excited. I like it when you get packages. I live vicariously
This
through you.
this is Heliana's Guide to Monster Hunting. It is a Kickstarter that I backed a while ago, and it arrived. So kind of goes hand in hand. Figure I'll open this up and just show some of the stuff that's inside it, but then we can talk about
How we would
eating
eat those
monsters this
things.
morning.
How we would eat those monsters.
Um,
My original pitch, like the other last week, was to make I had a whole bit, man. I had like a dinner, or I had like to make a full course, like several course dinner, and like uh appetizer, like what do you call it when, like at a wedding reception where it's like they can just like passed apps or passed around. There's like a little there's a word for that, and I don't know what it is. But anyway, I was gonna make
like a
us make
cocktail hour.
thank you. It was a cocktail hour. Yeah, I was gonna have us make past apps, appetizers, desserts, salads, and just main entrees. And we were gonna find the most delicious looking monsters. And also, I had like ground rules
Uh-huh.
where it's like primarily, and then one of the most difficult things to like define, uh, if it's people, try not to eat it,
Mm-hmm. It's a good rule.
because a
Yeah.
lot of things have sentience,
If
and
they's
so it's like
people,
it's a line, yeah. I
uh,
watching. Oh,
good.
go ahead, yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, every once in a while, I still get to catch up on. It's called Dungeons, Delicious in Dungeons,
Okay.
on Netflix, and the whole premise is eating monsters, and it's
Yeah.
very D&D centric. Oh, I gotta put a tally mark here. I have an invisible tally. Hunter can't see where I don't mention an anime, and I've just broke the streak. But there was dryads, and I'm like,
Mm.
and they all had like a tendril, like a vine going somewhere. They were just plants, and
Mm.
the dryad part is kind of like a fishing lure for like an anglerfish.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then when
That's weird.
the dry, yeah, because at first I was like, ooh, they can't eat that. But when they
That
go
is
up,
people's.
it looks like people's.
Right.
When they open their mouth, they spew pollen, and
Mm.
I'm like, oh, it's paralyzing. It's not paralyzing. It's just hay fever inducing. It's so like, but it's very serious. But they
I
try to kill
cast
you.
seasonal allergies.
Really,
Yeah.
it's really like that. But when they do kill it, inside like its throat or something like that is like a fruit.
Mm-hmm.
And but you see how it's just like plant inside, and it's like
That's
just like
cool.
almost like the skin
That's
was like almost like
That's a fun take.
petal like rippable, you know what I mean? So it was kind
Mhm.
of like, ooh, it's people, but then also because they were weirded out, like we can't eat this, and they were like, no, they're plants. Look, there's a fruit. Um, the one fruit was like a gourd with a face, and they were like, man, and that was real problematic. They were like, I don't know if I could eat that because it had like a real
It has a
serious face.
Yeah.
But it was like a real like a handsome face for no reason. um but it was delicious apparently. But yeah,
Nice.
they find different creatures, and they find, their take on how monster, the etymology of how what it is like.
Mhm.
They, the way they do mimics. I know mimics are usually like the chest or something, like, or it's copying something, but their mimics were actually like a crustacean or something, and it uses chests
Oh,
as
that's
like a
cool.
hermit
I
crab
like
type
that.
of shell. They
Like a
had
protection
like,
thing.
yeah, the other one was like treasure mimics, where it's like they disguise their shell to look like coins and hide amongst coins, and
Mhm.
then they're like a scarab beetle
Yeah,
thing, where
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
they'll eat people and they hide where treasures because they know people will be there, and then they eat them, but then
That's
they look
cool.
like treasure, and they look like treasure and jewels. Like, so it could be like a pearl necklace, but it's like a
Mhm.
centipede, so it's like,
Ugh, ugh,
oh, it's
ugh.
all like, yeah, so if you see a pile of treasure hoard, it could be treasure, or
Could
it
be
could be like
mimics.
a 75-25 like
Yeah,
treasure
yeah, yeah.
mimics.
That's cool.
It's
I
like,
like that a
yeah.
lot.
So yeah, we're gonna do yummy in our tummy type of monster situation
Absolutely.
here, but let's see
Um,
what you got going on here.
so the first thing is, I opened this the other day.
Hmm.
The first thing that immediately jumped out to me about this is the whole box is just very, very well like put together.
I'm a sucker for packaging.
It's very well assembled. Um, so this is the first thing that I pulled out of there, which is a black envelope. It's got a little like wax
Seal?
seal with
Okay.
the logo on there. And something I really appreciated is they put like a double-sided tape on the seal, so that I was
Okay.
able to like just kind of pop the opening open. I didn't have to worry about it like breaking the seal or anything like that.
Okay, yeah.
Um, and in there, they have like wanted posters for like different monsters. So it's like a little quest board, and it'll
Oh.
say like the monster that they're wanting removed, dead or alive. It shows like just pull
Now
one of these
now
out of
and this
here.
isn't to take away from them at all, but
Uh-huh.
this is I like to tell people like to use like Canva as like a free resource.
Yeah, absolutely.
You won't be able to match that kind of quality, but I love that idea
Yeah, it's
of
fantastic.
having like a
Handouts,
in
yeah.
your having a pocket like little like print out like less than 10 wanted posters for
Yeah.
something
Yeah,
and just have it in your like little section in case they're like, hey, what's on the board if you have a
absolutely. You just
board,
have it ready to
and
go.
then have like pull 2 or 3 out. Like that's a oh,
Um,
those look nice though.
yeah,
Those like see
they're
that's like a
really they're
heft
like they've got
cardstock.
good quality to them. But they're just really pretty. But the looking over them, what I noticed is they list like the domain of the creature, and they've got like a little like image
Like a
of
system?
what the domain looks like, and then they have a threat level
Threat level, okay, that's
of the
cool.
creature, and then like a little description of what the hunt looks like. But they've got a whole pack of those. Let's try and slide this. There we go. Slide that back in there. And then they've got like a whole pack of little like handouts that look like little journal entries and stuff like that. They've got like images of the monsters and stuff, which are just like all very, very cool. I'm a huge fan of the quest board stuff. Like that's just a very, very cool additional resource. Um, Go ahead and move on from that. The next thing is I've already forgotten what's in here. Um, oh yeah, there's like this giant map of like their the base there, which is like a this tavern place,
Oh,
which is
that's
cool.
big. I'm sorry, could you unfold that real quick again?
It's massive, dude.
Yeah, that looks huge. Is it gridded too? Like, is it like you see like? Oh, it is. Oh yeah, wow.
Yeah, it's huge. Um, Put that away. But like again, just the quality here is very nice because it's like this nicely sealed off envelope. And then uh the next thing is there's two little packs of pins. And the pins are of like the little familiars that they make. This one right
Oh,
here is my favorite. It is a mushroom with a knife. Big fan. And then another box of
now
those.
here's the thing that
Hmm.
I know I have with like pins like that. I've tried to get over this part of my life where I keep everything in a box. I know I'm not going to save it for a collector's value type thing and
Hmm.
whatever. Are you gonna open those, or are you gonna like keep them there forever?
I
Are you
don't
gonna
know.
like keep them part of a set? Like,
I don't
what
know.
do you how like generally what even if you don't know
I
now, like what is your general attitude towards like little things like that?
I love little things like that. I think the if I had more space, I would love to be like have a thing set up to like display things
Mhm.
like that. But right now I don't really have like a reason to.
Mhm.
When we have a different place and I can like set up a bit more of an office space, just have like a big cork board and put
Yeah.
all my pins all over it.
I keep telling
Um,
myself I want to make like a shadow box or like have a cork board for like
mhm.
just a crap ton of pins and just oh,
This is the next thing, which is a like little plastic tray with decks of cards and a set of dice in there. But these, what I really appreciate is the fact that like these three decks of cards are like more or less the same size. This deck of cards is much thinner. And so if you look, I don't know if it'll show up well on the camera, but you can see that
is it
one
raised?
is
One
like
is raised.
less shallow or is shallower than the others, so that they all come to the
Huh.
same height in this tray, which I thought was very
Interesting.
cool.
That's very cool.
Hit point press has the like
Mm-hmm.
animated spell cards and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
These are a deck of animated familiar cards. And then these
Oh
are
man.
magic item cards, which are great. I love those. And then the set of dice, which I had forgotten this was a thing that was going to be in here. But the set of dice is a just this beautiful. See if I can get it to focus on it.
Put your hand behind it, like full like makeup tutorial.
There we
There
go.
you go. That's how it works. Yep.
Just
Ooh.
this
Oh yeah,
beautiful
that does
set
show up.
of green gemstone. Um, they're
Those
just very
trip me
pretty.
up because whenever I do like the Norse Foundry booth, I see them stationary.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this is cool. I like that's I can tell which kind that is. I don't it's not jade or something. I don't know, but it's like I've seen that type where it's like when you move it, that's when the effect kicks in,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it's like I was like, oh, I
Um,
see.
yeah, but that like just very, very pretty. Then there's this like nice, like decent sized like
That does, yeah.
booklet here of the crafting catalog, which is a player facing maker's manual for Heliana's Guide to Monster Hunting. And it's filled with
That
information on like crafting and like how do you craft armor,
that's
how do you
actually
forge, here are tables, here are charts, here's how you upgrade an item.
I
um
I would be a nightmare on like building a Kickstarter because little things like when you were like saying like that, I didn't want to say anything because I was just like, oh, I didn't want to, give like almost lesson or something, but I was like, it
mhm,
looks kind of catalog-y, like, you know what I
mhm.
mean? Like there's
Yeah,
like, oh, this is from a
it's
paper
got a
supply
good
company.
like a good feel to it, but yes, it
Yeah,
it
the
definitely is more
size
of a
and heft
like
of it is very like design does feel like, oh, this is like something to rifle through, you know what I mean?
mhm,
And like just like you waving it around, I was like, I got that vibe, but I don't want it to be like, oh, like that's their main monster manual, and I'd be
mhm.
describing it as something like that. And it's like, no, it looks like a catalog.
Yeah,
I've had to see a lot of
well,
supply company catalogs,
and
and just
they
that
have
is
they have a whole section on like eating monsters.
oh,
um
this is
so uh
that's
thus why I pulled it out this morning.
all
um
right.
then you have the GM screen, which, do you use a GM screen?
I do more often than not to like just kind of like house everything
Right.
like and behind me just so that way there's no like oh, he has this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I try to keep minis and stuff that I think are gonna be like the big shiny thing like in a bag or in a box just to prevent it all.
Mm-hmm.
But in my GM screen it has like a almost like have you ever seen like a three ring binder sometimes they have like a little
Yeah,
plastic
yeah, yeah.
insert cover.
Mm-hmm.
I can like hide like lists of names if I'm like I've yet to like really like I forget I have things like at my disposal.
Sure.
But like I have set it up where it does have like all the basic information that you like would think is generically like you
Mm-hmm.
need there, but then I also have like taped extra little things like I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah,
if
yeah.
I've taped fall damage or like the extra potion types and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So like I do have them. In the heat of the moment, I forget I have things there, but like I have like taken the time to like make my GM screen kind of like fit what I got going on.
Yeah,
The
I get
standard
that.
ones are like pretty, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, and
like the
I
the
like them and
core like
want to use them more.
5e
Yeah.
ones. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The I have so many GM screens, because it's
I
like
have more than I think now that I think about it. Yeah.
every Kickstarter for like a campaign setting or a new system or anything like that, like they all have like a GM screen that comes with them that has like a all of the basic stuff, and then like a couple of things about the like the setting and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. I was talking to Grace the other day. I was like, when you know how people will do like gallery walls.
Yo, I was literally just thinking that. I was
I
like, I don't
was
know if
like,
it's sacrilegious, but it would be cool to kind
I
of
was
put them all on like a wall. Yeah.
right, like they're because that's the thing, is they're so, some of them are so pretty.
Mm-hmm.
And like this one specifically, like look at this.
Oh wow.
Like it's just a
You see, I
really
like
just
that personally.
beautiful
Yeah,
piece.
because a lot of times they're like a scene and they're real
Mhm.
nice, but
Yeah.
like it's a very specific theme, so it's like I'd have to like make sure I'm using it for the right campaign or something.
Mhm.
Like that is just like if I liked that, I'm
Yeah,
gonna use that one
it's
type
just
of thing. Yeah,
pretty. But this one does have information on like tracking, harvesting, manufacturing, enchanting, forging, cooking. In addition to the like, these are all the core
standard stuff. Yeah,
5e like conditions and stuff like that. Um,
that's cool.
which brings us to the book. The book itself. Here's the thing, Junie.
Hmm.
You we've had conversations about books in the past. I have a lot of books. I have a lot of 5e system stuff. um I have had books where I picked it up and I went, this is a thick book, like this is a big
Hmm.
book, this will cover a lot of content. Nothing has come close to this one.
Holy crap!
This is a massive book. Are you ready?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Oh dear. Oh, I saw the side a second ago. Oh, yeah. That's a
Look at this. This is a
wow.
freaking tome.
Yeah, no, that's
Like this is, and it's so like heavy. It's so pretty. Um that like that
that's.
foil on the front is
Hmm.
just beautiful. Also just a small thing that I really appreciate it. This, when I opened the box, this is in the very bottom of the box. And sometimes those, like if a book or something is in the bottom, it's very difficult to get it out sometimes. What they did is the box is bigger than the book by like quite a bit, and so then there's like foam around the edges. But then they had this
A little
ribbon
pull.
like
Yeah.
looped around it, so that when I like got there, I just lift it up and like lift it out of the
That's
box.
that's nice. I like that.
Which is just like a very nice little detail.
And it can be used as a bookmark.
Well, there's also a bookmark in here.
Oh, there's okay. I did
Um,
see that. That's what I thought I saw. Okay, cool. All right.
but like it's
Is it
just
is it
a,
an adventure too? Is it
so
like okay?
there's a ton of stuff in here. What it is part one goes over mechanics, so they go over tracking, harvesting, crafting. Part two is player options, so there's a bunch of new races, classes, feats, familiars. Part three are hunts, which are like little adventures. So they go
Okay.
off on like adventures of like hunting this thing and that thing and that sort of stuff. And then part four is the appendices, which has magic items, spells, creatures, sounds, index, partners, safety, errata, and legal. But
There's a lot. I,
just
I guess I thought of it more of like a monster specific thing when I heard the name of it. That's a
mhm.
lot of stuff in there.
It's a ton of stuff in here. And like some of the races that they put in here, like they have a like a mushroom folk. They have something that looks like a Nothic.
Okay.
But as a player option, they've got like
Oh wow.
little like rooster goblin things. They've got like a little like scaled badger thing. They have a an axolotl as a playable race.
Oh my god.
Like there's so
I
so
already see the
much.
problems with that one. Like, and not so much a problem, but like it's gonna be like as a DM, I'd be like, "Ugh, I'm either gonna hate this or love it. Where
Mm-hmm.
I know that there was like some, if it wasn't like the
They
fish folk
they
one,
have
where it's like almost they got to keep themselves moist, and
they
I just
have
picture an axolotl needing to
moths.
keep.
They're just moths, dude.
Moth people?
They're so pretty.
Oh wow. Like a monster like or a
No,
playable race?
as a playable race.
Oh wow.
They're stunning. They also have a I'm hit my mic. An oozkin, which is similar to like a plasmoid, but much more oozy. And then like a raccoon people,
Oh my
possum
god.
people. Like
I
there's a
if there was
ton
an
of stuff in here.
oozkin, I wouldn't like usually if it's like a weird like race where it's
Hmm.
like oh it's not a common one. Like the one example that I've used was I was playing with a newer like group of people and one was a lion and then they described themselves in some way where I was like wait a second or and that's when it hit me they might have misunderstood the
Oh,
character.
the where
I was like
they were an actual lion.
are you a lion with like adventuring stuff
Hmm.
or are you a lion person? It's like can I be a lion? I was
Right?
like
Can
you
I just
can.
be a lion? Yeah,
Now and then I was like, "Is this normal?" And they were like, "Yes." So it's just normal.
yeah,
If somebody was an oozkin, I'd be like, "Is this normal?" And if they would have said no or something like that, I'd be like, there'd be no way that like they wouldn't get attacked at
yeah,
every step of every leg of the journey. So I'd have to like not I'd have to struggle to make sure that I don't give them that option. Just go like, "Yes, totally normal. It's rare, but people know that
right,
exists," type of thing. Because
yeah.
otherwise, oh, it's a monster. It's there. Like, oh my god.
But yeah, there's just so much stuff in there. It's crazy. Um, okay, let's talk eating monsters.
Hmm.
Is there just off the bat, before we like really get into this, are
Hmm.
there monster types that you look at and you go, they would be delicious?
Uh, I think ones that like resemble or have characteristics of things that we'd already eat.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's as somebody said in the chat earlier, where it's like texture, flavor, all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Like we do sometimes eat with our eyes
Yeah,
beforehand.
sure.
So
So you're looking for
I,
something familiar.
well, it's just one of those are the easy ones.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think the challenge that we would have is like something like that other show does where it's like it takes something and makes you go oh what if it was like this.
Mm-hmm.
So if we look at a creature and it looks like either complete foreign we'd have to invent what if it was close to something that we could at least tie our brain to
Mm-hmm.
or like or just subvert it. So if it's uh like I would say just pick something and let's go because I think the rules should be like if it's something where it's like clearly sentient or clearly like
Well, that's the problem, right? Is
this is yeah
a lot of monsters
correct
in 5e are in some capacity like a sentient creature.
yeah
Like
it's difficult yeah
uh
but
a celestial, a fiend, a dragon, like pretty much every aberration. Like
well you see dragon's one of those ones again where it's like depending on how it's portrayed in
depending
the
on the
thing
lore and
yeah
the portrayal, yeah.
because like and I actually kind of like it when they do it that way because it'll make the smart drag like it'll make the dragon that is like a formidable threat
Oh,
like
like
that much more
if most
dangerous
of the
seeming.
dragons don't seem to be intelligent, but then you have
Correct.
like one who is a
Correct.
terrifying monster.
Yeah, it's almost like a goblin and hobgoblin situation where it's just
Mm,
like there's dragons, but then there's
right.
dragons.
There's dragons and then there's the dragon.
Correct. Like a
Right.
named one. And in a
Right.
lot of fantasy stuff I see, it's names have power.
Mm-hmm.
So if something is named, it kind of through magic shenanigans or just through its own like it's worked its way up there, it's earned that name.
Mm-hmm.
The name makes it better. So if it's like it's a red dragon, that's a red dragon. But if that's like Falconor, the volcano crusher, you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Well, and
That's different.
it frees you up as a GM as well, I think, to be like, "Oh, I want to put a dragon fight into this game." But like I don't want to deal with a like uh I don't want to deal with the players having access to like a dragon's horde and
Correct.
like
Yeah.
a dragon should be a terrifying like boss fight, but like I really want to put a dragon in here. If your world building is that like most dragons are not
Yeah.
like super like sentient and alert, and they're more like
Intelligent. It's like, 'cause sentient is
beasts.
like, because there's like self-preservation and there's instincts. So like
Hmm.
crows can like crows are smart. They can gather things. A dragon can still hoard things,
Sure.
but the dragon horde of like a wild dragon and like an intelligent
Sure.
dragon,
And
they're gonna be different.
if you're setting a sort of expectation of
Mhm.
like I wouldn't eat a if a pig walked up to me and was talking, I don't want to
Yeah.
eat that pig. But
Yeah.
like if it's just a pig, absolutely put like double bacon on my BLT. Like
I usually
the
have like the rule in person of like, if I've seen your face, I've named you or know your name and can't eat you. But like in this world, I think it'd be like, if I had a conversation with
right.
you, I
Yeah,
couldn't eat
if
you
you
because I had
cast
that
speak with
conversation with you.
animals and you have a conversation with an animal, you're not allowed to eat that animal.
Yeah, that's just
Um,
really not cool. Like
yeah.
that's super not cool.
Um,
Um,
okay,
yeah,
well then
but
let's operate on the assumption that a lot of creatures that are like
it's a survival of the fittest kind of world where it's just
yeah.
like everything is like you have to eat to survive.
Hmm.
It's we're not being problematic and hunting things to extinction, and we're not like ruining ecosystems and stuff like that. It's just like, hey, if we were to eat this, what would it taste like? How could we eat
Hmm.
it, and all that kind of stuff. Um, the
It's
the ones that are
recycling.
easy, correct? Yeah.
You're making
Uh,
sure to use the like anything that can be used from it.
Yeah, and
Um,
like the ones that resemble animals are always the easiest, but it's kind of fun to look at the ones that are so foreign, like, okay, what that might taste like and stuff like that. So
mhm.
uh I was gonna go through like 5e monsters, but I like that you have that book in front of you. So I'd be down to just like flip to a page and just seeing if something catches our eye, and painting a word picture
Well,
here.
I mean, there's a lot of different things in here. It looks like the the majority of these recipes are like kind of open to interpretation for like
Oh, don't
what
look at the
the
recipes. I'm just talking about look at the monster.
oh
Like
the
just
monsters
look at
themselves.
something. Yeah, just look at something and then we can go like, oh, that thing's gonna be in a pie. Like that thing probably
Let me
has like
see here.
tough meat and we're gonna have to do this to it. Like that's gonna be a stew. That thing looks like it tastes like gamey.
Okay, well let's do this. Let me I already packed the book away. Um,
Because if we look at the recipes, oh, like we're reading a recipe book. Like, no, 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 no. We're gonna come up with a recipe.
okay, let me find where are the monsters? Do, 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 do. Page 515. Spell
Yeah.
list. There's a spell in here called Peppermint Plate. I just feel that's important to know.
What? Well, now I'm gonna look that up when you keep going forward. What man? Like that has to be like a cantrip or something, right? Like I'm just
What, the Peppermint Plate?
yeah, because I'm just like remember plate.
It is a level
Uh,
1 spell. A protective layer of hot, hard peppermint icing coats you. For the duration, you gain a +1 bonus to AC, and if a creature hits you with a melee attack, the creature takes 1d4 of fire damage. The damage can
Interesting.
trigger no more than once per turn.
Interesting.
Okay.
So it lasts. Okay. Okay. I think. Oh man, that's interesting. I wonder if I would have done it like an armor of Agathis. When you said it like it covers you,
Yeah.
I imagine like armor of Agathis. Then if something hits you, the peppermint shatters outwards,
Mm-hmm.
like, and it's like cool hot like shrapnel damage, but like being
Um,
that icy hot blast every turn. That's kind of interesting. And
Okay.
palette coloring you to be white and red is kind of funny too.
So they have I'm in the monsters section now. They have animated magnetite, which is like a flying magnetite weapon, magnetite armor, or a swarm of magnetite cutlery. They have
Hmm.
biomantic polyhedruses, which is the tetrahedrus, the hexahedrus, the octahedrus, the decahedrus, the dodecahedrus, and the isosahedrus.
So it's
Um,
just like dice that are like
yes,
monsters, or
they're
are they like?
imagine a gelatinous cube, but it's in the shape of a one of the dice.
Oh, it's jelly like though,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
They're very cute. They've got a
Well, that alone right
the
there would be kind of like, that sounds like a fun challenge.
of like
Because
trying to make something out of the jellies.
yeah, because I'm trying not to
Hmm.
use what I've already seen done, but like if it was something where I imagine when a gelatinous cube or some sort of jelly like creature news, it always like we always picture it like deflating, right?
Yeah, like
So
kind of
it's one of those,
popping and then running everywhere.
yeah. So it's almost like an art,
Hmm.
or like it's a high skill level to like try to do it in a way where it maintains its shape.
Yeah.
So I just imagine it's just like, oh, anybody that tries to catch these things, they usually have this stuff with them, and then you kind of have to have like a type of nitroglycerin or like a freezy
Mm.
type of spell, because you have to like freeze them
Prevent it
as you
from
finish them
deteriorating.
if you want to hold the shape of it. And then like, okay, we keep it at this temperature to keep it solid. So you want to hunt them during the winter so they don't lose their form. Like that's the season. That's like the gel hunting season. And then because it's like a solid thing like that, I wonder if it's almost like a, like without reading the book, I almost wonder if it's almost like a jellyfish type of thing where it's just they exist, they roam, and it's just they so it's like, oh yeah, they're easy to take if you know what you're doing type of
Yeah.
thing. And they hold, if you hold their shape, let them sit for a little to let that flavor kind of like mature, and then you can slice it like
Oh
you
yeah,
slice it like
I've
a
got a fermenting ooze in the back.
kind of like,
Yeah.
imagine like a what do you call it,
It
cranberry sauce.
it definitely seems like something that would like the easiest thing to make out of them would be something that is already going to be a liquid, right? But if
Oh,
you
that's if you don't know what you're doing. In my head, it's if it's like you can make anything and it's gonna have whatever flavors it has. But in my head,
right,
it's like if you want to keep it like a gel type of
right,
thing,
that's what I'm
there's
saying. Is
like
the
the
it,
cooking process is gonna be
the
yeah, yeah.
easiest way to kill the like to cook with them would be in a liquid form. But a like i- if you are very skilled, you could get them in like a essentially a jello, um, which would be a very interesting kind of dynamic to play with.
What would be your go to? I feel like I feel like if for me it would be either like the cranberry sauce type of situation where it's
Mm-hmm.
like you let it, like you catch it right, you let it harden, you serve it cool, and then you slice it like cranberry sauce type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or and this one's the one where it's like, oh dang, that's kind of messed up. Um, you catch them when they're like very very young, and it's almost like a roe, like a caviar type of
Ooh, yeah,
situation,
yeah,
and there's a bunch of teeny ones,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
because like caviar is like shrimp eggs, so it's
Yeah.
like they're not eggs, but what if it's like they get
Caviar's
bigger
fish
because they
eggs.
just yeah, fish eggs, yeah. It's they get bigger, over
Mm-hmm.
time, almost like a snowball. That's how like
Have you ever
they
seen
acquire and they get
the
larger over the years.
Have you seen the like clutches of frog eggs in like
Yeah.
ponds and stuff where they're just like a
Hmm.
giant handful of jelly?
Yep.
Yeah. I could see that. Oh, imagine like chunks of ooze that you then dehydrate and they like shrink down into like little hard candies that you just kind of like
Oh.
suck on. Dude, very like immediately after those, uh, there's a creature called the Aboleth Broodmother, which is horrifying. Absolutely
Oh.
terrifying. I want nothing to do with that creature. Um, there's creatures called dream holders. But there's not really a good like picture of them to like say what they are for like hunting.
What
Um,
is the book again?
Heliana's Guide to Monster Hunting.
Thank you.
Um, then you've got a bunch of like familiar stuff. Um, they have a creature called the Pygmy Rakshasa Muling, which is a like little cat. And then they have the Pygmy Rakshasa, and then they have the Pygmy Rakshasa Kingpin. They have a section on mummies. A creature called a mummified immortal.
Oh,
It's terrifying.
that's just
Um,
jerky. Let's just be real. That's just that's a dried meat. And like it's just going to be salty, and you have to add salt to it, but
mhm,
not because of the taste. It's a weird, like almost counterintuitive, where you have to salt the meat not to make it like taste better, but to purify the demons, like
mhm.
the negativity from it.
You need like
And
a
then you have to
blessed
like,
salt.
yeah, and then you have to like rinse. Like, have you ever had my mom, when she would make like a bacalao, like cod,
Yeah.
she would
Mhm.
like have to like soak it several times because it was so salty.
Mm.
Like the fish was so salty.
You gotta
If she didn't like,
extract the salt out of it.
exactly, like let it soak, drain it, and if she didn't, then it was like a very solid. So I just imagine like if you were to do something like that, it's like you'd have to like salt
Yeah.
the meat to like purify it, and then
And then
soak it several
soak it to get
times.
rid of it. Have you
Yeah.
seen one of my very very good friends, shout out Rich. He hiked the whole like Appalachian Trail,
Okay.
and like backpacked that whole thing. Um and so when he was like preparing to leave, he was like talking about like what he was doing, and because he was talking about it with me, it then like made its way into my TikTok feed. And so there's a whole side of TikTok that is people making like dehydrated meals that then
Mm-hmm.
because they lose a ton of weight in dehydrating the food, and then they like pack those in a bag, put that on in their backpack, and then they like reconstitute those meals on the trail. And so they'll make like dehydrated chili, where they've made a thing of chili and then they dehydrate it, and so it dehydrates into this like brittle like chili mess. And then when they're on the trail, they just take like a scoop of that like chili that is
Mm-hmm.
all like dehydrated and put it into water and like turn it back into chili. I could see that being a very similar thing of like if it's a mummy that's going to be
Mm-hmm.
so dry that in order
Mm-hmm.
to like get it to a point where you can eat it, you would have to like reconstitute it.
Yeah.
uh Also, I could see just ground mummy being like a seasoning that is used,
Mm-hmm.
where you just like
Like
grind it up.
a saffron type
Yeah.
of thing. Yeah.
We also have hyphens. I assume that's how it's pronounced, which are like these mushroom abomination things. Um,
Does it
th-
say how big they are?
it depends. The first one is a decrepit hyphen brute, which is a large plant creature. Um,
So I'm imagining like a beefy, swole mushroom dude.
yeah, very very much so. Um, but like there are all these.
That's those are like hardy cuts of meat. I feel like that's gonna be like when people think of like,
There's a picture of one of them.
oh yeah, oh yeah,
It's like
oh that
like
thing's
a
got a
mushroom dude.
weapon.
Yeah, this is
I
a hyphen spore slinger.
like when people talk about like using like a portobello or something like as a burger or like a type of steak type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I imagine, but that thing being big enough where you can have like a full like
Like full cuts of meat.
porterhouse or like a
Yeah.
full, like, yeah, that's probably like a vegetarian, like I hate saying vegetarian cow, where it's like this is where you can get like a full like
Right.
2 pound steak type
Yeah.
of
You
thing,
want
and
a
it's like
like a full pork butt, but mushroom.
correct, yeah,
Do you
and you
think
cook it right. What?
in a fantasy world,
Mm-hmm.
this is a tangent, but in a fantasy world,
Mm-hmm.
if there are vegans,
Mm-hmm.
Is a plant creature something you eat?
I think it has to be the type of vegan you are, and
Mm,
even then, like, there's like probably sub layers because have you ever met a vegan that like sometimes eat things,
sure.
eat certain things, or
Yeah.
vegans that are? It's like there's difference between
I'm a
medically I
vegan, but
have
it's
to
Friday, so
kinda, you know what
yeah.
I mean? Like there are people that are like they're selective with it. There are people that are dietary restrictions like, oh, I
Mm-hmm.
can't eat most meats,
Mm-hmm.
so I just don't eat all of them because it makes it easier. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like I just cut it all out because it just makes life easier to prepare. Then there are people that are morally against it. So it's like if it's just like, oh, like a lot of like lean meats hurt me and I'm not a huge fan of fish, so it's just I'm pretty much vegetarian, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But if it's a moral thing, then I can imagine it being like they have a hard time finding food and finding
Sure.
sourced food unless they just don't care. And if it's like, oh, it can't be meat, then just give me whatever. But if
Mm-hmm.
they're the type that's like a moral thing, then their life is hard
Yeah. Do
because
you
it's just like, oh, I love mushrooms. Wait, where did you get these mushrooms?
right.
Oh no, I can't eat that.
Yeah.
I'm a vegan. I'm a, like you
Right.
know an omni vegan where it's just like no,
An
if it
omni-vegan? Oh
like
my
yeah, it's like
goodness.
yeah, like omni vegans don't eat anything that like
Is that a real thing or is that
moved.
a thing that you just made
I
up?
just said that. I just
Okay.
said that. But if that
Because
might be a thing, that's
omni-vegan
so
is
funny.
very good word for exactly what we're describing right now. Okay. Let's see
Omni
here.
vegan's a vegan multivitamin apparently.
Dude, there's a
But yeah, I think that would be that where it's just like in this world, if it's like you know there instead of just the standard vegetarian and vegan or you know carnivore, it's like
mhm,
there's levels to it because it's just like oh no, like traditional domestic livestock, I don't you know do exotic food.
right,
And it's just like if it's meat, I you know I need a meat, I need a
right,
protein of some sort. Like oh, this is just a thing I can eat, like I gotta
right,
live, and that's it. You know that it's you know it's not like oh, we gotta kill everything to eat it. It's just like
right.
sometimes you gotta live and you gotta eat something to live. So
So important question, and anybody who's listening, ponder this in the back of your head. Uh, in a fantasy world, vegan who like doesn't want to eat uh any living things, right? Um, in a situation where they like can't like there's no other food sources, they will die if they do not eat something. Do you eat a sentient plant creature or a chicken? Just a regular chicken.
I
One
guess
of them is a plant, one of them is an animal.
I think because they like vegan is defined kind of as using animal or other animal product,
Mm-hmm.
and animal is kind of like flesh and blood. I think is
Okay.
kind of like the definition that people
So you would
use.
lean towards the plant?
I think that's where, and this is me obviously from an outsider,
Sure. Yeah.
how it would be black
We
and white
yeah.
defined. Yeah.
Neither of us are
Uh,
vegan. Like we don't pretend to
but
know about it.
but that's going off of the like oh because I know if it's a plant creature it's natural, it's
Mm-hmm.
coming from the earth,
Mm-hmm.
there's probably I don't know how many pesticides are in it, but also it could be renewable, it's sustainable, and I think that's part of like the you know if that
Interesting.
appeal to it.
If
If
you're
it's an
if
animal
you're
it's got to
out
be
there,
farmed, it's you're taking like you know
sure.
yeah.
If you're out there listening to this, send us your thoughts on this. I'm intrigued. Junie, the next section of this monster section is just called Kobold Constructs. And I'm just gonna read off a couple of these. Kobold Mech. Um, the very next one, Janky Koboldzilla,
Oh,
followed by Koboldzilla, followed by Tuned Koboldzilla.
tuned as in TUNED.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Uh,
I wasn't sure. I wanted to make sure it's not
Gargantuan
TOO.
Construct.
I wanted to make sure it wasn't TOONED, like tuned, like a cartoony version of it.
Yeah. Dude, the tuned Koboldzilla Armor class of 30.
Dear God.
It has a burrowing speed of 20 feet. It's a challenge rating 27.
And that's wild that it's only 7 feet tall. That's just like, it's a
It's a
tall, like,
gargantuan construct. It has
wow.
mythic actions.
Mythic, dear God.
That's crazy. Then there's a whole section on Koboldzilla's lair. Magnetite dragons. That's interesting. Would you eat a dragon?
Yeah. I think I would. And I know that, well, what was because it's like the strange thing where it's like I don't want to like let science or logic permeate my eating of a dragon type of thing,
Right.
because you and Rosie made a good point where you were talking the other day of like, oh, if you shrunk down the muscle fibers would be XYZ, and I was like, screw all that, it cuts, it's magic, something like that, right? But the one realistic thing I would do
This is
with
my
like
Vorpal
dragon,
knife. I use it to carve dragon steak.
yeah, or like you shrunk the fibers and physics physics doesn't exist.
One
For
way
a
or another,
dragon,
you have made it edible.
yeah. For a dragon, I think it would be definitely like a cow or a pig, where it's depending on what part you're getting, like it would be different,
Drastically different.
So like a lot of things I've seen use like its fire is either in its belly, or whatever acids it's using, it's in its belly, or a gas.
Yeah.
And spoiler for anybody who watches Delicious in Dungeons, they cut the stomach open for a second, and somebody's gonna light a campfire nearby, and they're like, whoa, it keeps all of its gas in its belly.
Yeah.
So we don't want to light a fire within like however many feet of here,
Right.
like not even like next to it, just because there's that. And so the stomach would be the thickest, toughest part, like anything in and around the belly, that'd be really tough meat. And then
the opposite of like pork belly, where it's like this is not a tender meat at all.
Yeah.
I've always been a fan of in How to Train Your Dragon, one of the dragons has like it has two heads, and the one head like spews this gas, and the other one like sparks,
like clicks, yeah.
And like the sparks light the gas. I've always been a fan of, for dragons and anything that has like a breath weapon, having like two glands in their mouth that like go together to like form like breath weapon. So like one of them is just this like thing of gas, and then the other one is just this like light that just, and then it just explodes going forward.
I like that, and I think I would have like various types of like, almost like it would be like how like there's like the types of snake, it's like, oh, they're brown, red, and black and yellow, and like depending on which pattern it's poisonous or not. I would love to do like, oh, it looks like it's this type of dragon, but we don't know if it shoots like the things, like the like how you combat it would be different. Oh, we don't know if this one just sparks it's like its teeth to create a spark and it shoots out a gas, or if it's going to shoot out neutralizing stuff, because if it's like two liquids or two things, maybe we can throw something in its mouth and neutralize it. If it's the sparking one, do we have to like muffle him somehow, or we gotta like put him like underwater? We don't know. You know what I mean? It's like, what's it gonna do? What's combustible here? But like I imagine like the haunches being like the good part of like a dragon, like that part, that meat would be good. The wings, like the area around the wings, I don't know.
Yeah, I could see.
Hold on 1 second.
You're good. Yeah, I could see a like the wings being like kind of tough meat. It very easy to do wrong, I think. There'd be a lot of ways for that to go incorrectly. I think on a dragon, like the more used the muscle is, the more tough that meat is going to be. So I would think the wings, like the muscles that control the wings, are probably going to be pretty tough. Unless you have a dragon like what's Thumbershoud? Uh
Umbershout, yeah.
that's like that dragon does not fly. The muscles around those wings gonna be real tender. If you had a dragon like that, you don't have to worry about it as much. But like there's a lot of those, like I feel like a dragon overall, the meat would be really tough because like most
Yeah.
most of the muscles on a dragon, I feel like are going to be heavily
I
used.
feel like it would be a lot of stews because you got to
Yeah,
like get the meat real tender, or it's
yeah,
like you have to like really know how to cook it, and it'd be like seasoning it real good, and then like what is it, like
and
a
cooking
great
like a
sear,
red
and then
dragon, cooking a red dragon would probably be really difficult because they're like fire resistant. So like getting them to
I,
effectively cook might
I
be a
imagine
challenge.
if you want like I imagine one of the most expensive dragon delicacy, like the cheapest would be like a stew,
Hmm.
where it's just like it's quote unquote dragon
Hmm.
and it's a stew. So it's one of those things where it's just like, oh, what kind of meat? It's just like, it's dragon, and it's because it's from whichever type of dragon. It's in there. It's been cooking down long enough where it's like it's tender, and there's other vegetables and stuff like that. So it's gonna be
Hmm.
like pretty almost generic stew, where it's like
Yeah.
almost like a dragon stew is not crazy because like somebody could like find a dragon and all stuff. So it's almost like, oh, it's more expensive than a regular stew, but it's not like that much more expensive.
Right. What if they
Uh,
had like if you have a creature that like you can't cook in the traditional sense with like fire, like what if you have like a ceviche almost?
oh wow. Oh my god. Oh well, there's people that do that. There's
Like this is a red
full well
dragon ceviche?
what I
I'd be
imagine
super
like
into it.
what I was gonna say, like the most expensive one would be because it's fire resistant. I don't think, well, once again, depending on which dragon,
Hmm.
uh like I imagine like crazy upper level red dragon is more ceviche-y, and even then it
Yeah.
probably jacks you up. It's only people eat like a little bit to save their fancy. I
I
imagine you sear it, but it takes like you have to have like almost lava levels of heat,
Yeah.
like a
And it
forge.
needs
You
to
have
be
to
like
cook
a
it on a forge.
low and slow sort of thing, but with
It
an
is it is a
insane amount
very
of
it's
heat.
just a very long process. So
Yeah.
it's the effect is almost like you as if you did a quick sear and then put it in the oven for like an hour, but
Yeah.
that process takes a week.
Yeah. Or you
And so
have
like,
like
that person's really well paid.
like this is a barbecue like thing where like you'll have the meat smoked and seared over like like a day or more. um
Mhm.
and I could absolutely see something with a dragon where it's like, yeah, this is a dragon flank steak that has been cooked over the last 3 years, to ensure that it's like
Mm.
effectively cooked down. Like
It could have been done in a year and a half, but the person wanted it well. Yeah. How do you like your
um
steak? How do you do a
eh,
steak?
usually medium rare. Like
Oh wow, rare. Okay.
I might go rare depending on the steak. Usually the more the more uh crazy the steak is, the rarer I'm willing to go with it.
Oh, okay.
Um but yeah, usually medium rare is my go-to. Um what about like something like an owl bear?
An owl bear?
Because I feel like an owl bear is very much a creature, right? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like
It we
we've
I think we
probably
said it
had this
before.
conversation before.
Yeah, where I think it started out as like a monstrosity, like a person made it,
Hmm.
and then I think just in general, it has gotten to the point of like it's been out for so long and like multiplied that
Right.
now it's a wild creature. Okay.
Now it's a creature. Um, yeah, I think I'm of the mindset of a anything of like the owl bear, the displacer beast, the like anything of that nature, I think is very much a regular creature at that point. Like it's a natural, like I know it's a monstrosity, but it's a creature. Um there's a lot you can do with it. Um Bard Television in the chat says, "What would take longer, cooking dragon meat or using the bones to make broth?" I think my instinct is that the meat would take longer. Would take longer to cook. I think the bones, especially with a one of the dragons that isn't amphibious, I think would you'd be able to make the broth relatively quickly. Um, I don't know
I'll
why
be right back. I
I
gotta
don't.
take 2 seconds. I'll be right
Oh,
back.
you're good. I
Yep.
don't know why in my head an amphibious dragon would take longer to make bone broth from. I don't know. I don't know why. I think it's just the like water association in my brain. But I think like if you had to make a bone broth out of dragon bones, I think that the meat would probably take longer. I think the bones would react relatively similar to a regular bone. So if it's a dragon bone, I don't think that necessarily makes a huge difference to that process. I do agree with you that like the size would absolutely would absolutely determine it. But like at the same time, I don't think that like taking a giant bone from a dragon it's just going to take the same amount of time as it would for like any other bone that size. I don't think a dragon's bone would take necessarily longer to make the broth from, other than the sheer size of it. Um, if I were to place money on it, I think the bone broth would be something that is used in like potions and stuff. Like I could see it being used for like a soup or something as well. But I could absolutely see like a potion that requires a broth made from the bones. Um, yeah, it's such a when you start going through all of the different creatures, there's just so much that you could theoretically do with them. And I like the concept of really trying to find a use for like every piece of a creature. Like what do we do with the scales? What do we do with the meat? What do we do with the hide? What do we do with the bones? Like you I I would love to play in a game that was kind of like built around really trying to make sure that you are using uh everything that you can from each creature. I think there's a lot that you could do with that, and it could create some very interesting situations. Um, it'd be so rich in broth. I agree. Especially because like a dragon is a very like they are an alpha predator, like to the point where almost like how like the lion, if you have a just the male lion of the tribe doesn't really hunt all that much because they're going to have stuff brought to them. I feel like dragons are kind of in that same vein of like the dragon doesn't do much hunting unless it wants to. Like it would have other things that would bring stuff to it usually, depending on how old it is. A younger dragon I could absolutely see having to go out and hunt and stuff. If you hear a story about like a dragon that is attacking farms and stealing cattle and stuff, that's a young dragon. Like an ancient dragon is absolutely not wasting its energy to go steal a cow. Especially because at that size, you have to assume that a an ancient dragon, in order to like move and do all of that stuff, an ancient dragon's gonna have to spend an insane amount of like energy from their body in order to keep moving. So they would have to have a huge amount of food. So going out and hunting is almost a like a diminishing return for them of by the time they've gone out and hunted these creatures, the like it's spent more energy than it will receive back from eating those creatures. I think that's one of the reasons that you won't see like ancient dragons flying around or like usually won't encounter them unless it's in their lair, is that like that's by the time a dragon is that big, like it needs to stay in its lair. Like it can't go anywhere else. The mental image of an ancient dragon just scooping up a whale is hilarious to me. That's very interesting. Oh man, if you had like some of the amphibious dragons, which I think like a black dragon, I think is amphibious. You have like a black dragon, just an ancient black dragon that's going down under the water to hunt massive sea creatures, because it's one of the few things that is big enough for it to like have a full meal off of. Is very interesting. Just find, oh, imagine like you're walking through the swamps and you find like a full whale skeleton of just
Oh
like the
God.
carcass of this whale, because this ancient black dragon lives nearby, and they like fly out and hunt the whales. Lots of calories in whale blubber too, so it's logistically would be worth it. Yeah, that's a great call out. Yeah, there's a lot of creatures out there. Kind of circling back, Jenny, I think there's a lot of creatures, especially in like the core 5e stuff, that are like, ah, this is a monstrosity, but they're basically just
Oh yeah.
creatures. Like they're basically
Yeah.
just a beast, just like a little bit magic. Like an owl bear, a displacer beast, anything like that, I feel like they're gonna be a relatively similar
I
creature.
I was gonna say with the owlbear before stuff happened. A lot of things happened at once. I just imagine it being like when you think of like pheasant, chicken, like duck, turkey.
Hmm.
I don't know what's big. An ostrich, like owlbear. Like a Thanksgiving owlbear would be like the town turkey. I feel
Hmm.
like that's how like I imagine that because that's like you have to prepare it like you would bear,
Like a
kind
like a
of like you
Thanksgiving
roast it.
feast, but it's just an owl there for the whole
Yeah,
town.
like
Yeah.
yeah, like where it's just like similar, where it's like it's gonna be poultry and what is it? You know what? I know exactly what it would taste like. Have I ever told you how my mom put like they need like pork into our turkey?
Hmm.
My mom one time put like she was stabbing a turkey for Thanksgiving, like a cooked turkey, and then I walked in and she had like shredded up pork shoulder, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "I'm making a Puerto Rican turkey," and she was shoving the pork into the turkey that she'd like stabbed a bunch, therefore making the entire bird taste kind of like pork. I don't know why, but I imagine an owlbear tasting something similar to that, where it's like it's like bird, but it has this subtle other flavor, kind of like
Mm,
tinged into it. So whatever bear is, I know bear has like a gaminess to it, but it has like a
yeah.
distinct flavor. I imagine it having that, where it's like it's bird, but hmm, there's another thing here, and it's just gonna have a lot more meat.
I'm
Have
looking
we
up
done like
oh, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say if there was there any sort of like a seafoody type thing because
We
uh
briefly like touched on ceviche and then moved on pretty quick.
mm,
Um the I got sucked into a rabbit hole trying to figure out how much meat a dragon would eat.
I think I feel like I've
Um
seen something like that before. But what would uh if it was you see not if we not beast is easy. I'm trying to think of like another type of oh it's selected. I'm still looking at like the 5e thing on D&D Beyond.
mhm.
Um where things that are plants uh I think you see here's one where it's one of those things where it's like it depends on how you portray it cuz like because of the way I saw like the dryads done in this one show, it made me go, well, like, what if not everything is like a person type of thing, and just so what if it's like like a natural reoccurring like animal or creature of some sort? And then I do imagine like if a sea hag was kind of like more of a almost a I'm trying to think of what sea creature. Frogs have like limbs. So I'm imagining kind of like a sea frog, I guess. So for like a sea hag, it's kind of like, you know how like back in the day, manatees or something like that would be like people would
Mhm.
mistake them for mermaids or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I imagine like a sea hag is like it's personified because like it has like limbs and it can
Mhm,
kind of be upright and it has like the seaweed hair type of thing,
mhm.
but it's not like a human or like whatever. It's just an animal that is like humanoid shapeish, but it's
Uh-huh.
really like almost like a frog situation. So it's like their hair is almost like a seaweed salad, and they would like the same way you would eat like frog's legs or something like that. I feel like
Yeah.
that would be like a sea hag if you were to spin it that way.
Um, so from what I'm seeing,
Hmm.
uh, there because I'm pulling from a few different sources here.
Hmm.
Um, the from what I'm seeing, it looks like according to this post, a dragon, uh, first of all, can eat all manner of inorganic material, which is
Hmm.
interesting. I don't know where that's being pulled from, but like apparently dragons can eat things that aren't like meat as well.
Like
Um,
imagine like you like the same way like a whale would have a ship inside it. You know what I mean? It's like
mhm,
it can just like eat you and then it'll like it ate your armor and stuff like that,
right.
but it's not like gonna be like, oh no, I have metal inside me. It's like it's either gonna break it down or it's just gonna like excrete all that extra stuff without it being like a problem.
Yeah. According to the Forgotten Realms wiki, most dragons will consume half their own weight in meat every day.
Every day.
Every day, which
That's
seems like it wouldn't be sustainable. um,
huh. Yeah,
uh,
I don't know. But you know what? I just saw that I've been looking for a creature that I can describe this with, and I finally found it real quick. Um, a bullet. Uh, Imagine a bullet, and if you can
ooh,
get it without breaking its shell, like
uh-huh.
really what roasting on a spit, and it cooks itself like a shell because the inside's like crab. Like
That's
it is
interesting.
like it uses you use the shell itself to like as like the cooking surface,
Mhm.
and then you kind of like have to and it turns red when it cooks, like when it's cooked almost like a lobster type of thing. And it's like one of those like once it's all cooked, it's like some are chewier, some pieces are chewier, some pieces are tender, great with butter. uh that's what I see, and it's a lot easier to crack when you really cook it.
Um, so we've got a uh man, they do not just give me like a easy answer on this.
So you're just looking for how much meat a dragon can eat, or how much
So
like
from what I'm seeing, it looks like a red dragon, a healthy red measuring 40 feet, which is 12 meters. So that's uh, like an adult to like a large adult dragon. Um, would weigh 5,000 pounds, according to the Forgotten Realms wiki, which seems low. But like we'll run with it. Which means that they need about 2,500 pounds of meat um, a day in order to like sustain themselves, which would be let's see here. A beluga whale is 2,400 pounds to 350 pounds. Um, or three, or sorry, 2,400 to 3,500 pounds. So like an adult red dragon would need to eat a beluga whale every day.
interesting. You
Those
know
are
what?
rough numbers.
Yeah, I feel like I would have. It's not that they wouldn't eat every day because it's not like they're lizards like in snakes where it's like they have to eat once a week or something like that.
Hmm.
But I picture
I do.
since they could.
I could absolutely see as they get like older into that like ancient status that their metabolism just continuously slows.
Yeah,
Um,
and I can see like, oh, like every few days a bunch of sheep or a horse gets taken.
mhm,
Um, and if it like grabs a bunch and it just noms on it slowly, I
yeah.
just imagine like it like they're a threat for feeding. Like, oh, it's been active, so it's like, oh, every few days or every week, like every other week or something like that. But every day, like that ecosystem is
It
rough.
devastated. Yeah. Well, and it
Like
makes
it,
it
it's
it makes sense why a like a party of adventurers would get hired to go take out a dragon is
yeah.
like a dragon is a immediate like drain on the resources of an area if they move in. Like
Mm-hmm.
can you imagine a small village that like survives off of like hunting in the woods and stuff like that and all of a sudden a dragon moves into the area and like all of their game is gone now. Um
God, I just saw like I just looked at a hydra, and I immediately saw where it's just like there's a small, like a very small subsect of people that hunt it for delicacies, and it's kind of like if you do it right, you can get enough hydra to eat for like a lifetime. Because it's like you chop off a head and another one grows. So it's just like the art is not finishing it off; it's getting it close and then farming it. And so like just almost like so you need a lot of people to do that, and then you need the part where it's just like constantly get another, and it's just the neck is like eel, and
mhm.
nobody ever wants the body because the body is just like, I imagine the body being ultra dense because it would have to either through magic or through like cell restructuring be very dense to like recreate a head each
Mhm.
time. But like the neck is probably like the same way somebody would eat a snake or an eel, where it's just that type of like muscle fiber and whatever they would do to cook it. Probably used in like different sushis. I have to go in a sec.
Yeah,
Uh,
we can wrap up.
but but there's I know that aside from like the crab one where it's like somewhere the exterior's tough.
Mhm.
That's the type of thing I know I wanted to see if there was something else where I'd be like, oh, this is like weird. And the gel D20 one, that was kind of cool. Uh, but uh, before we go, Hunter, do you have any like food related calls to actions for people for the week?
Oh man. There's so many good options.
Mm-hmm.
Eat something you haven't ever eaten before. Try something new. The there's a whole world of foods out there. Try something that you haven't ever had before. I'm a big
Mm-hmm.
fan of the when it comes to food, it's like I will try anything once. If I don't like it, I don't have to eat it again. But I will never make the call like based on just like what I think it's going to taste like that I don't like it. I'll try anything one time. Also, second call to action, if there is something that in the past you didn't like, but you haven't eaten it in quite some time, try it again. There are a lot of things that taste different now than they did previously. There's also a lot of things that like the taste buds of the body adapt and
Mm-hmm.
change as you get older.
I used to not
Uh,
like pickles.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a ton of things out there that
Mm-hmm.
people will be like, "Oh, I don't like that," and then they try that and they're like, "Wait, I love this! Like, I could have been
Yeah.
eating this all this time." Yeah, if there's something you don't like, try it again. For me, it's Brussels sprouts. I hate Brussels sprouts. Um,
Mm.
but every like few years, I will try Brussels sprouts again to see if I
Just in
like
case.
them. But I still don't. I don't like them. I don't. I'm not a picky eater. There's very few things that I'm like I will
I
not
believe in
eat
you.
this. Brussels sprouts is one of them.
I got a
Um,
third one.
yeah,
Try something you normally do in a different way.
yeah, that's a good
That's
one.
that's always a fun one
Yeah,
where it's just like, oh, I haven't, put this in a pie, or I haven't like
yeah.
sauteed XYZ. Just try something you
There's
have done in a different way.
there's a lot of people that I've talked to who have said like uh there was a food that they never liked growing up. They always thought it was gross and then they tried it and they were like, oh, this is amazing. And it's because like the way it was made when they were little
Yeah.
was not the best way to make it.
The optimal way,
Like
yeah.
the number of people I've talked to who are like, yeah, I don't like that vegetable. And it's because like they always ate it just boiled. And people are like, why? Like there's better ways to make that. And then they eat it and they're like, oh, this is good. Yeah. Those are good. Have a great weekend, everybody, or great week. It's Monday.
I know. Oh, same deal. I was like, I don't know when is it?
Have a great week. We will be back on Friday with some more nonsense. Remember to embrace the nonsense this week. Have a fantastic one. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you Friday. Bye, y'all.